What's going on, everyone? Matt here from the PT Profit, Leverage, and Lifestyle Show. I have got one of my amazing clients, Matt, here with me from Anytime Fitness in Kalanga on the north side of Brisbane. So, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you this morning?
Good, mate. Thanks for having me on.
No worries at all. So, I wanted to get you on because you've had some epic results since we've started working together, but you've had your fair share of challenges and different experiences, and both in the PT industry and before that as well. That we'll probably discuss throughout the conversation. But for those who don't know who you are, do you want to give us a bit of a summary of what you do now, where you've come from, and yeah, I suppose a bit of background about yourself?
Yeah. So essentially, I'm a personal trainer. I have been for about a year and 5 months now, or coming up to 5 months. Um, yeah, before that, I was just a normal retail worker, really. Um, Came into fitness, the journey of fitness for my passion for it. Always wanted to really start a business, never knew really how to. So when PT, the opportunity came along, was really good for me. And kind of took the opportunity firsthand. My background, I came from Wales, so a small little country in the UK. Moved over when I was 5 years old, roughly. So I've lived in Australia most of my life. But yeah, so I've lived over here ever since. All my family's back home. It's just me, mum and dad over here grinding out. So yeah.
Awesome. So obviously it would have been a pretty big decision for your mum and dad to move over here without the rest of the family.
Yeah, man. It was yeah, I was too young to remember, but it would have been tough because all the families back home, they grew up in Wales, all their families back there. So it was definitely a big decision. And, I was too young to really remember it, to be honest. So luckily, I still have some visions from like my hometown and stuff. And we go back every so often. But yeah,
Yeah, I can like because I've got two young kids as well at the moment. I reckon because we get my parents and Jess's parents to help out a fair bit. It would have been pretty tough for them, but I'm sure you're obviously living the dream here in Australia. But yeah, I wanted to go back. So obviously, you've been here since you were five. You're obviously quite new to the industry as well. I forgot how new you were to the industry actually. What were you doing before you started PT?
oh, mate, almost every job under the sun. No, so I graduated in 2020 from high school, and then I took a bit of time deciding what I want to do. I originally went to TAFE and attempted to get my diploma in criminology. That was a 6 month course, and I only lasted about 4 months. Realized it's not something I wanted to do at the time. Afterwards, I just bounced from job to job. I actually worked as a furniture removalist for about 2 weeks. So it didn't last very long. I realized how hard that was, and I respect everyone in that industry, but it just wasn't for me. That was really, really hard work. After that, then I actually had a stint at Domino's as well, being a delivery driver for about a year and a half after that.
Yeah.
So that was probably one of my main jobs before coming into PT, and that was all right because Domino's was just down the road from my school, so everyone from like my grade worked there, and it was almost like a small family. Like you would be happy to go into work, and obviously there'd be ups and downs of every job, but yeah, that was pretty solid. But then I realized after about a year and a half, it was time for me to move on. I had an opportunity to go to Bunnings, so Bunnings Warehouse as well. Um, Got lucky enough to get a job there. And I worked there from anywhere between 2021, end of 21 to end of 22. So I had a long stint there as well. Um, and then, yeah, after that, during that time, I was tossing up studying my Cert 4 in fitness as well. I had done my Cert 3 previously in year 12. So Cert 4, I was wanting to go into it. Eventually, with a lot of talking to and a lot of deciding what I want to do, eventually went and undertook study for it. And yeah, got my cert. After Bunnings, then I realized that I wanted to try and start a business for myself and try and make something work for myself as well. I didn't like the feeling of kind of working for someone else, especially. I mean, I just wasn't for me at all. So I left Bunnings after a period of time, and luckily enough, I was really lucky to be working at the gym I was already training at. So at any time in Kalenga. And I got a job there about a year ago, a year and 5 months, and here we are today.
Awesome. Happy days. And I think from my understanding, you're still studying at uni now as well, aren't you?
Yeah, so before personal training, I went back and with my Cert 4, it actually allowed me to get a specific OP or ATAR. So
Okay.
I actually went back to uni and I had enough points to go into my Bachelor of Criminology. So before PT, I went into that as well, and I'm currently third year in uni as well, kind of managing both at the same time. So
Yeah, I definitely want to probably dive into the challenges that you've got with this because we've had a number of conversations on workload and time management, that type of stuff as well. Because there's probably a lot of people out there that are juggling, trying to build up the business, plus doing other things as well, whether it be like another job or uni or or whatever. But what's your experience been like with running a business? 'Cause I know you said you obviously wanted to work for yourself, but then also the challenges of being you're full time, aren't you? Full time uni as well.
yeah, full-time uni.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that experience been like?
Oh, I'd be lying if I said it wasn't difficult. Yeah, extremely hard. It's especially challenging when you're already halfway through a degree and then you make the decision to start a business for yourself. That was probably one of the biggest decisions of my life, to be honest. Juggling between working for myself and getting a degree so I can get qualified to go into the criminology field. I do have a passion for both as well, but I'm at a crossroads now, essentially, where I really got to make a decision about my future because my business is going relatively well, and there's plenty of room for growth there. But yeah, plenty of challenges, man. It's more mindset than anything over the past year and a bit. Just deciding what I want to do and kind of doubting myself a lot of the time. And yeah, it's been through quite a bit. So
Love it. And you can choose how in depth you want to go here, but we've had conversations around the self doubt and expectations of other people, putting or you putting pressure on yourself, whether it be self-inflicted or pressure from other people. Again, you can share as much as you want to share on this topic, but um, do you feel like, especially, and this is just, I suppose, a perspective, do you feel like a lot of people put pressure on themselves, especially in business?
100%. Yeah, I think again, just relates back to that mindset. If you're really committed to it, you want to obviously make it work. And that was the same with me as well. I realized that, even in being in uni and starting my business, I realized that, I have high expectations for myself. And, if I was to try and do something, I'm going to do it 100% as well. But that always comes with a downfall as well. I think sometimes if you put too much pressure on yourself, you tend to burn out a bit quicker and you get faced with a lot of mental challenges as well. Um, so yeah, definitely, yeah, the expectations can be a bit high sometimes, and I'm trying to learn not to put pressure on myself too much or put as much pressure as I have been. Um, but it's easier said than done. So
Yeah,
yeah.
100%. Where does the pressure come from?
Um, Look, it stems from a lot of things, really. I think the main thing with me living out of home was the expectations of my parents as well. My parents are, well, not old, but like they're relatively getting to that age now where they've always been brought up with like education first and education matters and go to uni, get a degree and that sort of thing. So and that's how I've grown up my whole life as well, through primary school, through high school, finish your exams, make sure you get a good job outside of uni, and then you're pretty much living the life. So to, I guess, cave a pathway for myself as well in that aspect, and go and do my own thing is, it's not, well, it's abnormal essentially in my household. So it's been weird trying to balance between the two.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, in terms of that, it can be super, super challenging. And when you're coming home every day and you're not sure what other, like say for my parents, for example, you're not sure how they perceive what you're doing is correctly, or if they don't know, the full extent of like how far you can go in business. It's hard because they've got a gray area as well. So their mind's all foggy with, is this like a job you can do for the rest of your life, or is this something that, is sustainable? Can you live off that? And, it's hard managing those expectations as well. So
Yeah, well said. Yeah, and obviously we've talked briefly about this as well, but yeah, me and you come from similar backgrounds. So my parents are um they're not old, so to speak, but I've got two brothers, and my older brother especially, he got an OP1. So he's very smart, and he got a scholarship for uni and all this type of stuff. So he's an engineer. So I instantly felt pressure to follow in similar pathways. So I wouldn't say I was forced, but I was highly encouraged to go to university. And as you said, go to university, get a degree, and then you quote live the life or live the dream, whatever that means.
the main thing was the quotations there. So,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
For those listening, I was doing quotation.
yeah.
So yeah, we obviously come from similar experiences. But I didn't decide to run an actual business until I was 25. So you're obviously starting a little bit younger than me. So I was, you're quite mature for your age, but I was probably a little bit more mature because I was quite immature at your age, to put it that way. But why did you want to run a business? Like, where did that come from?
I think just coming from all my experiences after high school, after graduating, really, and I've always had like I've always wanted to be a bit of an entrepreneur, and I think going into furniture removal, for example, and going into Bunnings where like there's these massive corporate jobs and like there's like head office and there's managers and there's so many people in levels above you, and answering to them it didn't sit well with me, especially. During like all those jobs I traveled through, I was in fitness a lot of the time. I was training, going to the gym, and I actually had a personal trainer of my own as well, from luckily enough from when I was about 15. So I've always had someone to really almost as like a mentor in the gym and kind of guide me towards like, healthy living and nutrition and that sort of thing as well. And I guess it's always been implanted in my mind that that's something I've wanted to do for the past few years. Um, and yeah, it got to the point then when I was really wanting to kind of pursue a business. And I tried previous things in the past as well. It's not my first rodeo with trying to make something work for myself and work for myself. Um, I'd done a few things in the past, but I realized that fitness for me and personal training, the feeling or the satisfaction you get from helping someone out that comes in or wants to lose a bit of weight or wants to gain a bit of muscle, and once you achieve that goal, it's really satisfying for yourself, and there's no better feeling like it.
Love it. Very well said. You mentioned you actually had a trainer from 15, which is pretty cool. I didn't actually realize that, which is awesome that you're obviously getting that guidance at such a young age. I think most most parents wouldn't think about putting their kids with a PT. So that's actually pretty cool in itself. Do you think like because obviously that PC I would assume was running their own business as well. Did you feel like having that one or that particular person work relatively closely with you and you could see them running a business, did that give you some inspiration as well?
I would say so, yeah. Like when I was probably 15, and like I said, I was very fortunate enough to have a coach there. I think growing up as well, I never really got into a lot of sport. Like I watched sport on TV, but I never played it. So my mum and dad were very hell bent on like putting me into something that I was passionate about. So when the gym came about and I started to like that, I grew a liking to that, and they wanted me to pursue like a coach. So I knew the basics of what to do inside the gym. Um, but yeah, sorry, mate. Completely forgot your question. I just went on a bit of a tangent there. Yeah.
It was like, well, because you were working with someone that runs a business for such a long time. So you obviously have had. I'm not sure if you're still working with that same coach or if is that Tom?
No, no, no. So I when I say same coach, I've just worked with a PT for the past like since I was 15. So it's been multiple PTs.
Okay.
Like I started at Jets and then I went to Anytime and then from there on out. But
Yeah.
yeah.
The question was because obviously personal trainers run their own business, did that give you more inspiration to want to run your own personal training business, just like they were?
Yeah, I guess so. Just going back to what I said before, I guess when I was younger, I didn't realize the extent of running a business, so I didn't know much of the back end of things. But when I got older, and maybe when I was like 17, 18, and I started learning a little bit more about how a personal trainer works and how they run a business essentially inside a gym, definitely gave me a bit more a passion for it. And when I found out as well that the opportunity for growth is there and the freedom is there as well financially and time freedom as well, that kind of I took a liking to that a lot and I started to pursue that from there.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, let's dive into some of your results because yeah, we've only been working together a shortish amount of time, maybe a couple of months. But yeah, I'd love to dive into some of the results that you've got since we started working together. Like we've obviously been working on, a lot of systems. Like we've recently been working on structure with finance and tax optimization, that type of stuff. But do you want to give us a summary of where you were at in business before we started working together and what the results have been since we started?
Yeah. So I started back in June, roughly May, June last year, and I started off pretty well, I would say. I didn't have, I guess, the correct systems in place to make that sustainable, but I kind of went balls to the wall and really grinded my ass off for a bit, and it was good for a period of months. And then come the end of last year, then it started to get a bit tricky because I didn't know what to implement to retain my clients. Like I wasn't earning the best income ever, but it was all right for me at the time as well. I thought I was doing a pretty good job. Um, December hit really, so Christmas time is always a hard time for gyms, personal trainers, especially for me. Had a few clients actually drop off during that time just due to other reasons, which is completely fine. But going into January, I wasn't really set up correctly, and I paid a price for that as well. I income dropped quite a bit. I was actually considering for a few months leaving personal training as well. I remember I won't forget actually. I was sitting in the foyer at my gym and I was actually on Seek or Indeed or one of them. I was looking through jobs and I was showing one of the other PTs that used to work with us like what I was looking for and I told her that I was considering leaving PT because the business wasn't going good at all and I didn't know how to come back from come back from failure at that point. Um, yeah, it was a hard time because going home and kind of faking as well to like mum and dad that I wasn't doing the greatest just so I could keep on going and so they would keep off my back, I guess, was another big thing. Um, but yeah, so it was really bad going into January and that lasted then until probably a month or two before I decided to start working with you then. And I think we might have started working together in August, I think, maybe around that. I'm not too sure. But from there on, then the first thing I needed to nail was my presentation and the way I conduct my consultation process as well. In doing that, then it gave me a lot more confidence to go ahead and um, try and catch a or gain another client. And from there, then the confidence is just continuing to grow. And happy to say, in the past three-ish months or 3 to 4 months, I've actually increased my income by over $500, which is for me insane. And I never thought that would happen. I was really on the brink of leaving personal training. Like I was so close, and yeah, it was almost like a lifeline for me to start working with you. So once I increased my income by $500, I was definitely very happy. The work's not done at all, and for me, that's only a small milestone of what I really want to achieve. So
Awesome. Happy days. Congratulations as well. Big turnaround from obviously having that, the perceived failure that you had there. And yeah, again, can relate to um, you know, faking it with your parents so they kind of don't ask questions type of thing. I've
It was tricky. It was tricky, man. It was, it was almost like putting a smile or like a fake smile on your face every time you got home. And it's like, because everything was so good last year, and then for it to just drop off completely. I mean, I guess that's business, so you're gonna have the highest highs and the lowest lows. And I feel like that's, I guess that's what makes you grow as well. Because I think if I didn't have that drop off, I wouldn't be here today. Or I definitely wouldn't be here today. So I've definitely, even though it was a failure, it was more, I take it on as a learning experience.
Yeah, 100%. And I actually haven't told this to many people, but like I was talking to my mentor about this the other day, and we were saying, and this is part of the reason why I decided to stop doing face-to-face PT and move everyone to online, is because when you have no other option but to make it work, then that's where you actually take the biggest amount of action. And that's why a lot of people, that's why I always, not always, but that's why for 95% of the year, I'm working with mentors, because you put there's an added level of pressure for you to take action to get the return on investment, whether it's financially or time wise, to make it worth your time. So I always say, whether people work with me or someone else, like always work with someone to elevate your game, because when you do put you don't want to put immense amounts of pressure on yourself, but that does give you a little bit more pressure to say like, cool, well, I'm paying money now to, work with this person. I need to make sure I'm getting a return on investment, whether it's financially or you're learning a significant amount of skills. And I suppose going back to your journey with me, I think like you mentioned, obviously you lost a fair bit of income previously during that Christmas period, and thankfully we're going to be able to sort that out this time around, so it doesn't happen again. But I didn't actually realize you were almost leaving the industry. So there you
Yeah,
go.
I haven't told many people that, to be honest, because it's not like I'm ashamed of it, but it's because I'm so passionate about something, and for that to almost slip out of your hands, for me at the time it was really devastating actually, and I didn't talk to many people about it, not even like my mates or my parents at all. It was kind of just kept to myself,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Well, I haven't told you this yet either, but you obviously know I worked with Mel at Anytime Fitness as well. Was Mel the person that you were speaking about before that you told? Or was it someone else?
No, it was someone else. It was a ex-female PT that used to work at any time.
Because Mel actually used to tell me about you before we started working together about, you're a young gun, you're working your bum off, all these sessions. But then she was saying exactly what you told me. It's like you've got no structure. You got you're just doing so many sessions. You're just working so much, and there's no
Yeah.
system. There's no
I, I talked to Mel a lot during that time, actually, or I've talked to her here and there about it as well. Because Mel is actually my old childcare teacher. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh wow, there you go.
Yeah, yeah. So
Wow.
she's known me from about year three when I was
Oh,
a little kid.
no.
Um, yeah. So I instantly connected with her when I found out that she was also PTing at the other gym down the road.
Oh,
Which helped a lot as well because obviously she had been there longer than me, and she had previously gone through you as well. And obviously she had been set up quite well. So when the opportunity came to really start considering like a mentor and someone like a support person, she was a go-to as well. So
yeah. I want to dive into the what you felt when you were looking to jump on board with a mentor, because your income would have obviously dropped a fair bit, and obviously to hire a coach, you need to obviously spend some money as well. So what? Because I remember having a conversation with you, and I think whether this was true or not, I'm not sure, but you told me that you were like, and I'm not sure if you remember this, but you told me I don't want to waste your time, but I'm talking to a few different coaches. So something like that. You say you don't want to waste my time, but I've got to talk to a few different people before I make a decision, or something like that. But I'm curious, what was kind of going through your head when you were, or I suppose, having a conversation with me, and then obviously making the decision to get started. What was going through your head at that stage?
oh mate, so much. Yeah, I think the big thing with me was I had invested previously in not a PT mentor or nothing to do with fitness, but I invested in a sales course previously. And unfortunately for me, it didn't work out the best of ways. So going into or having that long layoff after that initial investment and then going and trying to work business by myself and then eventually going to find a mentor, I was very skeptical. And I won't lie, I was making as many excuses under the sun because I was simply like scared. Honestly, I was really, really scared because yes, my income had dropped, and like you said, mentors are an investment. And from that previous experience I had, I was it was difficult, and I eventually just I had to bite the bullet because if I it came to a point where I realized if I kept going the way I was going, it just wouldn't work out, and I would be having to go and find another job. Um, so even though income was a big problem at the time, um, I really had no other option if I wanted to continue PT. So yeah.
Yeah, well, that's crazy. Yeah, because obviously a lot of people are obviously, a lot of people are skeptical, and there's a lot of, gurus. Again, if you're listening, the quotation marks, gurus that, that help people grow their business, but they've never actually grown a business before. So, I've got burnt in the past as well. So for people who, I'm not sure if I've shared this story, but, I I used to have an Amazon store. I used to sell products online, like an e-commerce store. And to get set up with that, it costs about 25K. Um, and we never made any money on that. Well, we made some, but you had to pay to set up the store. Then you got to buy the products, and then when people make a purchase, you then obviously got to pay the Amazon fees. You've got to pay the shipping, blah 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 blah. So I've had plenty of failures for my time as well. But same thing when I'm working with mentors. I'm like, oh well, how am I going to actually ensure that I either learn or grow from this experience or get a financial return on investment? So that's it's always interesting to hear, what people go through when they're making those types of decisions. So I think you're right. I think it's probably been maybe 3 months, maybe four. Um, what's the goal for you in the industry? Like obviously you said before, it could give you like, the financial freedom, time freedom, flexibility. What's the plan for you long term?
Plan for me at the moment is first off to have structured systems in place where I can automate a lot of my business. So that's the main thing. So the more time I get, the more time I can invest in something else. So that's probably the overarching one. I also want to eventually transition into online as well, online coaching. So I can again put my time into something that's going to be a lot more skillful for me and upskill myself. Um, and that way it will allow me to spend a lot more time with friends and family, that sort of thing as well. And that's what's good about PT is that allows me to grow into that. So those are probably two of the main goals as well. I want the ability to travel. So obviously, as I said, I'm from the UK and I don't get back so often because tickets to London and Wales, they're like 2 grand plus at the moment, 2 grand Australian. So it's really hard to go back and see family a lot of the time. So that would be another thing is go and be able to freely travel back to the UK and see all my cousins, my aunties, my uncles, and grandparents, and all that as well. Um, and yeah, so those are the three things that are really driving me right now to have a structured system in place to go ahead and continue to grow in personal training.
Love it. Sounds good. And you mentioned a little bit before about uh, you're hustling and grinding and whatnot, but you've also had your fair share of burnout, or near burnout. That Yeah, curious to kind of hear your experience with that and how you've been able to, overcome that a couple of times. So, do you want to or firstly, do you have any strategies or skills that you use to overcome when you get to that stage of burnout? Because it's happened a couple of times.
Mm. Yeah, it's quite broad, but self-care. And I didn't prioritize self-care the past or when I first started personal training as well, when I was almost running myself into the ground doing so many sessions. So self-care for me is a big one. And, one thing for me is I've actually signed up to a different gym now. It's a train myself. So I'm not constantly at the gym I work at. training there, so I'm not feeling like I'm working, for example. So that's only been a recent change, but that's been a big help for me as well. Um, as well as just doing things that like I enjoy. Like I do enjoy going for walks. I enjoy sitting out in the sunlight. I think sunlight's so important for yourself. That helps me a lot as well. Just doing things to calm myself down. I'm naturally quite an anxious person as well. I don't think a lot of people know that actually. I'm quite good at not showing it in the gym, but quite a big introvert and quite anxious. So managing that is a whole different story as well. I do a few things for that, so it's good. Um, yeah, it's more about just taking time out for myself and understanding when I need a day off, or when I feel like burnout has come along. I need to take a step back a little bit and just realize what's going on, um, be present with like the anxiety, I guess, and just figure out the next possible solution on how to fix that.
Awesome. Love it. How do you at what stage do you do you have like for your self-care, do you have it kind of already in a routine that you do it on like I don't know, like a weekly or a daily basis, or is it just you do that when you get to that stage where you can feel, okay, cool, I'm getting to the stage where, I'm getting a fair bit of fatigue and I'm, mentally not all there. So is that when you start to do it, do you suggest having it as part of like a routine where you're kind of doing that consistently to make sure that you don't achieve burnout?
Well, I think for me, it's been over the course of time, I've taken a few actionable steps as well. So a big thing for me was I felt like I was working 24/7, even outside of work hours. So one thing I've done to change that now is actually cut off all communication with like clients after I've stopped working. So I've got a certain period throughout the day where I'm working and I'm switched on, and then when I get home, I'm completely switched off. And I think previously, before I didn't have that structure in place, burnout was a lot more frequent as well. Because, like I said, I felt like I was working literally 24/7 when I wake up and before I go to bed. So having that in place now is really be beneficial towards me not getting burnt out as often. Yeah, but in terms of if I if I'm structured with it, or if I just feel it as if, or I feel, or if I do the strategies when I feel the burnout coming on, I feel like it's just a mix of both. Like I've got some things there that I do regularly. Like I said, I sunlight, I kind of take a time to take a few deep breaths. I'm a big fan of like mindfulness as well. So I like my meditation, whether that be just, like I said, sitting in the sunlight, like reading a book, or just taking a few deep breaths to myself. I feel like that's also really beneficial to keep me going. Um, so yeah, it's a mix of the two, to be honest.
Awesome. And you recently just decided to take Fridays off from,
Yes,
sessions now.
yes,
Congratulations. Big
thank
step
you.
in the right direction. So, firstly, why did you decide to do that? And what's the benefit?
For me, the benefit is I get to work from my business at home and not be in constant training with my clients. And I can actually get some admin stuff done, get some back end stuff done that I've been needing to do for the past, like I say, few weeks, few days, whatever. Um, so it's more of like a clear out day, just doing tasks that I know I need to do that I haven't been able to get to throughout the week. And that way, then it sets me up perfectly for the weekend and the week after that, because I can almost in a sense plan out my next week, and just go from there. It's also good as well because my old man is home on Fridays as well, so it allows me to spend a lot more time with him. And yeah, and just do sort of whatever, do any sort of jobs outside of like business, and yeah, it's good.
Awesome. A chance to switch off as well.
Perfect. Yeah, man, definitely.
Love it. Very cool. Happy days. Well, that was really insightful. Thanks for the the tips and observations on your experience. Um, but if people do want to follow along with your journey, because I'd imagine you're going to be a PT for quite a long time now, where can people follow you?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram, Layt's Fit, so LAYTSFIT. That's my personal training account, and yeah, I'll be posting on there all my client wins and stuff I get up to and all that sort of thing.
Awesome. Happy days. Well, that was really awesome conversation. Thanks so much for being part of it, and yeah, thanks for trusting me to help you get back on track in business.
Cheers, bro. I appreciate the help so far, and can you keep growing? So should be good.
Awesome. Thanks, mate.
Awesome. Bye now.